Hi guys, good evening. Welcome to another exciting Upgrade Mastery just for you with Mr. Upgrade. I am Mr. Upgrade and I am super excited to have you here again for another interesting conversation that we're going to be having this Friday. So, how are you? How was your week? Like, what did you do this week? What was the challenges you probably faced and how were you able to overcome all of them this week? What's up? How are you doing? How are you doing? How's your week? Yes, this is a new month, the month of April 2024. And how is everything going for you? We are literally in another quarter. The first quarter is done and dusted. How was that for you? January, February, March. How was that for you? What did you achieve? What were you able to pull through? What were you able to make happen for yourself in that first quarter of the year? But even if you didn't do so much in that quarter, guess what? This is a new quarter and you can still be able to make things happen for you if you put yourself in the places where you should put yourself, right? So, how are you doing? How are you doing? On the Upgrade Mastery just for you. Basically, just get to share the experience of the week, the learnings we've had, and all the things that stood out for us in the week that has ended, and prepare us for the new week that's going to come, right? So that we can actually stay ready. We don't just want to prepare when something is coming, but to always stay ready, always stay prepared. Because, like I always say, an opportunity is coming. Will you be ready when it comes? And for you to be ready for every opportunity, you have to stay ready. So, how was your week? What did you do this week? What was that thing that was significant for you? What was that thing that stood out for you this week? Did you get a new deal? Did you seal a business deal? Did you get a new contact? Did you get a new connect? What was it like for you this week that passed? For me, my week was interesting, right? I had a lot of things I had to do, and it was just phenomenal being able to do those things that I normally do, right? And many learning points from the week, but it's not about my week, it's about your week. What was your week like? I know some of you may be shy to share, but you can leave it in the comments, right? There's nothing to be shy about. You should leave it in the comments so that people can get to see the experiences you had this week and they also learn from your experience so that they too can be better for themselves, right? Okay, so that being said, on the Upgrade Mastery just for you, Mr. Upgrade, we're going to do a review of the week, especially on the belief systems that were shared during the week. Now, for this week, we had an interesting session of belief systems that was shared, and it went around in the concept of questions, right? Because we see that a lot of people don't yet understand how important it is to ask questions or how important questions are. So we took our time this week to really, really explain the need for questions and what that truly can do for a person when they understand how to go about it. So we're going to go over the review of this week, the belief systems we had this week, and that will probably help us to set the tone for this conversation because our conversation today is on question, right? Because we believe that there are still a lot of things that people still need to know about question that they don't yet know. So we're going to throw more light into it because we believe that once you understand this, it becomes very, very easy for you to always use this hack called questions to be able to unlock opportunities and possibilities for you. All right, so stick around to join us as we go over the review of our belief system on questions that we had during this week, and then we get to talk about question on the later part of this conversation. Trust me, you do not want to go anywhere. So while you're here, do want to share the link with your friends, your enemies, your loved ones, and even the people that may not like you, right? Share it with them so that they too can learn, right? Because it's important that we all get to learn and be better for ourselves. That's what all upgrade is about, right? It's a journey for us to leave good behind so that we all can upgrade. So let's take a peek into what we discussed this week about questions. So we started the week by talking about ask questions, right? Ask questions. And we wanted to explain that the easiest thing to do, yet many never do it, is to learn to have the courage to ask questions. Now, to ask questions is the easiest thing to do, literally. It is the easiest thing to do, but many never do it. So you need to learn to have the courage to ask questions, right? We went on to use the story about when the angel appeared to Mary and said, "Oh, thou art highly favored. You're going to have carry the Messiah. You're going to give birth to the Son of God." And Mary asks a question: "How can this be, since I know not a man?" Right? Mary asks a question. So we need to understand why it is important that we get to ask questions. It's very important. We need to understand this. Right? So Mary asks the angel, "How can this be?" Right? And the angel explained that the Holy Ghost will come upon you, the power of the highest will overshadow you, and then you should have a child. Simple question, right? And we went on to explain that there are three simple reasons to ask questions. Number one is that you will gain clarity. One of the reasons to ask questions is to gain clarity. And then number two is to put away assumptions. So one of the things that asking questions will do for you is that it will clear your doubts, right? It will help you put away assumptions, because there are a lot of people who just work on assumptions when they can easily just ask questions, right? You don't know about something, you want to get clarity, ask questions, right? So the second thing is that it helps you put away assumption, and the third thing is that it helps you to gain better and deeper understanding. So whenever you ask questions, guess what? You're going to gain a better and deeper understanding when you ask questions. So it's important that you get to ask questions. Very important. And then I went on to explain that when you learn to ask questions, you will discover how much you had previously assumed, right? When you learn to ask questions, you're going to discover how much you have previously assumed. Right? And I always tell people that assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. In fact, assumption is no knowledge. Right? Assumption is no knowledge. So when you get to ask questions, you will discover how much you have previously just assumed because you didn't ask questions. And then went on to say that those who ask questions never get lost. Those who ask questions never get lost. So it's important that you ask questions. Went on to explain again that the fear of what you may find out is what many times keeps people away not to ask questions. So know this and know peace. Sometimes what the fear of what you may discover when you ask questions may just be the reason why some people don't ask questions. Yeah, so know this and know peace. And then we went on to explain that you are not a fool when you ask questions, and you are not wise because you didn't ask questions. Do you get that? You are not a fool when you ask questions, and you are not wise because you don't ask questions. So, ask questions. I'll wrap it up by saying that instead of overthinking or jumping into conclusions, simply just ask questions respectfully. Right? Instead of overthinking or jumping into conclusions, simply just ask questions. So that's what we kicked off the week about the question series when we talked about ask question, right? And then we moved on from that. We don't talk about ask question. We moved on to the next conversation, which was there are no stupid questions. Now, I love this particularly because some people feel like, oh, if I ask a question, they may look at it and say, oh, that's just a stupid question. Why would you even ask that question? But I want you to understand this. There are no stupid questions. Yes, there are no stupid questions. Yes, you must take confidence in this fact that there are no stupid questions. Just relax your mind. There are no stupid questions. You see, There are no stupid questions. There are only questions. I'll say that again. There are no stupid questions. There are only questions. No stupid questions whatsoever. Just questions. So, stupid or wise is subjective, but the question is objective. You get that? Is this making sense? Yes, it is. Stupid or wise is subjective, but the question is objective. So there are no stupid or wise questions. They are only questions. And then I went on to explain that when the rabbi healed the man that was born blind, right? And then the Pharisees and the Sadducees were arguing and they were asking the parent of the child that was he really born blind? And the parent said to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he is of age, he can speak for himself, right? He's of age, he can speak for himself. So it was okay for them to ask him the question directly rather than ask themselves. And then I went further to say that there are three simple reasons why there are no stupid questions. Number one, it helps you to know what you didn't know. There are no stupid questions. It helps you to know what you didn't know, right? Hi, thanks for joining, Mike. It helps you to know what you didn't know. So there are no stupid questions. Number two, there is no shame in learning. There is no shame whatsoever in learning. And then number three, it saves you from future embarrassment. So when you ask questions, it will save you from future embarrassment. Right? So there are no stupid questions. And I went on to say that the question may be complex to answer or even difficult to understand. It doesn't mean it is stupid. So the question you may ask may be complex or may be difficult to even understand. It doesn't mean it's stupid. So there are no stupid questions, right? Then went on to say that in life, there are no right or wrong questions. There are just questions, right? The same way there are no wise or stupid questions. They are just questions, right? There are no right or wrong questions, but just questions. So this is the right question, this is the wrong question. No, there are no right or wrong questions, they are just questions. So there are no wise or stupid questions, they are just questions. Right? And went on to say people would say a question is stupid based on their perspective on the question. So based on their perspective of the question, they may say the question is stupid. Doesn't mean the question is stupid. Why? Because there are no stupid questions. When you don't know something, ask a question. There are no stupid questions. And I went on to say that there are no stupid questions. A person can be stupid, but the question is not. Are you getting it? So the person can be stupid, but the question is not. So there are no stupid questions. You know, scripture talks about Abigail's husband Nabal being a fool. But doesn't mean Nabal was saying foolish things, but Nabal was just a fool. Right? Because you see, when David came, sent a message to him through his men, Nabal reacted foolishly. Nabal was a fool. Right? That's why scripture says, as the name was, so was he. But there were no foolish questions that Nabal should have asked. He was just a fool himself. Right? And went on to say that never be afraid to ask questions because there are no stupid questions, respectfully. Right? So we started off the conversation by saying ask questions, and then went on to remind you and encourage you that there are no stupid questions. Right? And then went on from that to talk about question your beliefs. Question your beliefs. What are the things that you have always believed? What are the things that you have held dear to yourself? It is time to question those things. And then we went into the conversation. We said your beliefs play a vital role in who you are becoming. So it is important to question your beliefs. You know, you've always heard me say this, that the sky was never the limit. The sky was never the limit. Your beliefs are. So your beliefs are the limit you have on your life. So it's important that you get to question your beliefs. Very important. And then we went on to look at the example where Peter told the master, Master, we have left everything to follow you. What is our reward? Because that they had just witnessed the encounter between Jesus and the rich young ruler. And Jesus had said that it's difficult for a rich man to enter into the kingdom. And then Peter was like, I don't understand. What's happening here? And Peter said, Lord, we have left everything to follow you. What is our reward? And Jesus replied to Peter that everything you've left in this world, you should receive 100-fold, and in the world to come, eternal life. So at that point, Peter questioned the belief, and he wasn't wrong to have done that. Are you getting it? Now, there are three simple reasons to question your beliefs. Number one, so you don't believe a lie. If you don't question your beliefs, you may not know when you start believing a lie as true. So you must learn to question your belief, so you don't end up believing a lie. Remember, tradition is nothing but peer pressure from dead people. So it's okay to question the tradition. Question your belief, so you don't end up believing a lie as true. Number two, you question your belief to test the validity of it. How valid is that belief? To test the validity of your belief. And number three, so you don't put a lead on your growth. So the reason you question your beliefs, so you don't be the one to put a lead, a stop, a cover on your growth, because you don't question your beliefs. And went on to explain that beliefs really can either be liberating or frustrating. Hence, it is important to question your beliefs. It can either be liberating or frustrating, so it's important to question your beliefs. And then we went on to say, just because a belief is popular does not mean it cannot be questioned. So question your beliefs. It's popular doesn't mean it cannot be questioned. Question your belief. Right? Now, imagine if everything you have believed up to this point is a lie. So question your beliefs to arrive at truth. Question your belief. Right? And then went on to say, remember, everything rises and falls on your beliefs. So it's okay to question your beliefs. Everything rises and falls on your belief. So it's okay to question your belief. And then went on to say that why do you believe what you believe? Guess you never realized the need to question your belief respectfully. Why do you believe what you believe? Why? I guess you never realized the need to question your belief. So you see how the progression has been. We started by saying ask questions. We went on to say there are no stupid questions. We went on to say question your beliefs. And then we went on from this to say question reveal mindsets. Question reveals mindset. You see, there's so much about this question conversation. So much. And we've just been breaking it down gradually for you so you can understand it. Now, we have question reveal mindset. Now, look at what happens here. He says that important as questions are, questions reveal mindset. Your mindset is put on display by your questions. Your mindset is put on display by your questions. Now look at this. We looked at the example of Zachariah, right? Elizabeth's husband. When he was told by the angel that his wife is pregnant and going to have a child, right? Zachariah questioned the angel. Now follow me closely. Hi, thanks for joining. Zachariah questioned the angel. And then the angel said he's going to be dumb until the child is born. Now you're going to be wondering, but Mary also questioned the angel, and Mary wasn't made dumb. You're going to see later what really happened for that happened. Right? You see, Peter also had a revelation in Acts chapter 10 when the tray came down from heaven and told him, kill and eat. And Peter says, I cannot touch an unclean thing. And the voice told Peter that whatever God has made clean, you should not call unclean. Right? And then the men came from Cornelius to Peter. Right? Now, understand this. These two cases reveal the mindset of Zachariah and Peter. Peter was having a fixed mindset against the Gentiles. Zachariah was having a fixed mindset that I'm already gone past the age of giving birth. So I told you that question reveal mindset. Question reveal mindset. And then I went on to say that there are three simple ways question reveals mindset. Number one, it shows if you have doubts. That's why Zechariah was made dumb until John the Baptist was born. It shows if you have that. Number two, it shows where you focus on. Peter just could not accept the Gentiles coming in as they should come in. Right? Number three, it reveals the limiting beliefs that you have. So questions reveal your mindset. Questions. The questions you ask reveal the mindset that you have. Question reveals your mindset. Thank you so much for that, right? That's some people joining. Someone said, greetings, thanks for joining. Sunshine is here again. Thank you, Sunshine. Said there are no stupid questions. Thank you so much. Mass Word says, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for being here. And then she also collaborated what we're saying. Say, true, questions reveal mindset. So true, question reveals mindset, right? Okay, now we say nothing reveals the mindset that a person has like the question the person asks. Are you getting this? Is this making sense? Nothing reveals the mindset that a person has like the question that a person asks. So by the question you ask, it tells me a lot about you. That's what people don't know. Because it reveals where you are in your mindset, the kind of questions that you ask. If I people ask, is it okay to kiss and not get involved in having sex or something? How close should a Christian go? Can you kiss? Can you hug? Can you smooch? Like, it just reveals your mindset. It just reveals your mindset. It's just unfortunate though. Right? Sometimes by their questions, you will just know where they stand and how they think. By the questions they ask, you will know where they stand and how they think by their questions. Why? Because questions reveal mindset. I wanted to say, while there are no stupid questions, there are questions you should not bother asking. I'll say that again. While there are no stupid questions, there are questions you should not bother asking. They are no-brainers. You should not bother asking them. And also, we went on to say, questions are as important as answers, yet questions reveals mindset and already held perspective. So questions reveal your mindset and the perspective you're already holding on to. And finally, wrapped up by saying, by their fruits you shall know them. Also, by their questions you shall know their mindset respectfully. By their questions you shall know their mindset respectfully. And then we wrapped up the conclusion for the question series when we talked about questions leads to action. Questions leads to action, right? Now, we started out by saying that you may never make some decisions and take action until you ask questions. You may never make some decisions or take action until you ask questions. Questions lead to action. Questions lead to action. And then we'll use the story of those four lepers who were at the city gate in 2 Kings chapter 7, who said to themselves, why sit we here and die? Questions. Why sit we here and die? And then they took action and they started to go towards the enemy's camp. And as they were marching, as they were walking to the enemy's camp, the enemy started to hear the sound of a marching army, and they all fled the camp. Are you getting this? Questions lead to action. In Luke 15, verse 17, when the prodigal son came to himself, he said, the servants in my father's house have enough to eat and to spare. Why do I sit here languishing in hunger? I will arise and go back to my father. He asked himself the questions, he took action and went home. So questions always lead to action. So you notice that when you ask questions about some things, it's because you want to take action on those things. Because questions lead to action. And we said there are three simple reasons why questions lead to action. Number one, realization. By the questions you ask, you suddenly have a realization. You have a aha moment, right? Number two, information. With the question you ask, you get new information. And number three, it gives you the will to change. Like the four lepers, why sit we here and die? They got the will to change. By that simple question, they asked themselves. And like the prodigal son asked himself, even the servants in my father's house have enough to eat and to spare. Why do I languish here in hunger? Again, he said, I will arise and go back to my father. So you see, questions lead to action because it gives you the will to change. I went on to say that until you ask some questions, you can never take some actions because questions lead to action. Until you ask some questions, you can never take some actions because questions lead to action. And then I went on to say, interestingly, what is holding you back from action is the question not asked yet. What is holding you back from action is the questions not asked yet. So when you ask the questions, you will take action. You see, those who are always asking questions are always taking actions. Look around you. Just look around you. Those who are always asking questions, they are always taking action. Why? Because questions lead to action. And went on to say that sometimes all you need to ignite the fire in you is the questions you ask that leads to the action you take. All you need to ignite the fire in you is the question you ask that leads to the action you take. So questions lead to action. And wrap that up by saying that questions lead to action, so it's important to never fail to ask questions. Yeah, it's important to never fail to ask questions. So it has been an amazing journey on this question series. So at this point, I want to ask you guys to ask questions, right? Let's take a few questions before we get into question itself, because there's so much I want to share on questions. So let's take a few questions so that you can be able to connect more with what we're talking about. So it's your turn right now. Feel free to ask a question. Use the comment section. Just ask a question and I will gladly take them, right? Because we're actually talking about questions. So it's only fair that you practice asking questions. And if you get to watch the replay of this, it's okay to also leave your question in the comment section and we'll come and answer your question in the comment section, right? So let's take a few questions before we get into the conversation itself on question. Because there's so much we need to talk about questions so that it can help your understanding and give you the push to be able to ask questions moving forward. So you become that person who is always confident to ask questions. Because I think one of the reasons why people don't ask questions, that they don't have a question to ask, Because sometimes you are not just confident enough to want to ask a question. And you need to find that confidence in yourself in order for you to be able to ask questions. Because look at this. The reason you're asking is because you really want to know more. You want to know more. You want to get clarity. You want to get a better understanding. You want to get depth on that particular conversation or concept. So it's important to just ask questions. Put your fears behind and just ask. Right? And remember, there are no stupid questions. There are no right or wrong questions, just questions. Right? So it's okay to have the confidence in yourself to ask questions. And remember, the one who asks questions never get lost. Right? The one who asks questions never get lost. So it's okay for you to ask questions. So while we wait for your question, let's get into the gist of question. Right? Question. Question. Right? What does that actually mean? Because we like to break it down so that you can really understand and then grab what we're talking about. Right? Now, the Q in question is quest. Quest. I know quest talks about the search, right? So the reason why people ask questions is because of the quest that they have. They want to know more. They want to be clear. They want to have a better understanding. So there's this quest for knowledge. That's why they ask questions, right? It's not to show off. It's not to brag, right? It's the quest for knowledge, a quest for understanding, a quest for clarity, a quest to know more. That's why people ask questions. That's the essence of asking questions. So the Q in question is a quest. You really just want to know. You really just want to know. Right? You really just want to have a better knowledge of that particular thing. You're in search of information, you're in search of knowledge, you're in search of understanding, right? You just really want to know. It's not out of place to ask questions. It is more out of place not to ask questions. Because when you don't ask questions, guess what? You would live in the realm of assumption. And I already told us earlier, assumption is no knowledge. It doesn't make sense assuming when you can just ask questions. And you see a lot of people, they assume a lot. They assume a lot. They assume a lot of things. And many times, they are sincerely wrong based on their assumption. Sincerity is not a factor because you can be sincerely wrong. If you assume, you can be sincerely wrong, right? So it's important that you get to ask questions so it will clear your doubts, it will clarify your assumption. But that begins when you have the quest to actually want to know. In the court of law, they always say you promise or you swear or you vow to say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And what do they do in the law court to get the truth? They ask questions. So there's the quest for truth. Are you getting this? So you must understand that when it comes to questions, the Q is quest, the search to know. The search to know. You don't really know people until you ask questions and they respond to your question. Just looking at a person, you may assume based on the looks. And that's why scripture reminds us that man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. You see, Delilah never knew the secret of Samson's strength until she asked questions. She never knew. And she kept pressure on asking questions, and then Samson gave in and said, "This is the secret of my strength. My hairs have never been cut since I was born. No razor has ever touched my head." So the moment she asked questions, the moment she got the answer, she made Samson sleep on her lap and she cut off all of Samson's hair. she shaved him skin tight, abolo. So you see, you don't really know people until you ask questions and they respond to the questions. Then you get to really know them. Is this making sense? All right. Thank you so much for that. Sunshine said that, yeah, you don't really know people until you ask questions and they respond to your questions. So true. So true. You really don't know people until you ask questions and they respond. Then you know where they are. You know their mindset. Right? So the Q in question is quest. So the reason you even ask in the first place is because you really want to know. There's the quest to know. There's a quest for knowledge. The you in question is understanding. When you ask questions, you gain a better understanding. That's the truth. When you ask questions, you gain a better understanding you never had until you ask the question. You know, Mary asked the angel, how can this be? Since I know not a man, how can this be? And the angel said, the Spirit of God will overshadow you. Right? She asked a question. She wanted to have an understanding. She wanted to have an understanding. Are you getting this? So the reason you ask questions is because you want to gain understanding. Just imagine when you were in class, while you were still in university, while you were in class being taught a particular course, right? Because you want to understand the course better, you ask questions of the lecturer. Simple. What? Because questions gives you better understanding. It's as simple as that. Question give you better understanding. So when you don't ask questions, you're going to lack understanding, and you already know this, that wherever understanding goes missing, there's going to be misunderstanding. So not asking questions will lead you many times to misunderstanding, because questions help you to gain understanding. We just talked about the children of Issachar, the sons of Issachar, that they had their understanding of the times and they knew what Israel ought to do. Right? And their brethren were at their command. Why? Because they had an understanding. So it's important for you to always ask questions, because it gives you understanding. It gives you understanding. You will never have if you didn't ask questions. So get away from assumption. Get away from assumption and ask questions so you can gain understanding. Right? So the you in question is understanding. Sunshine says here that okay, that's not coming up. It says question clarifies and puts away assumptions and misunderstandings. So true. Question clarifies and puts away assumptions and misunderstanding. So true. So when you ask questions, you gain understanding. So it's very important, because the you in question is understanding. Now, the E in question is enlightened. When you ask questions, you become more enlightened. Even scripture tells us in Ephesians that we should pray that our eyes of understanding becomes enlightened. Our eyes of understanding becomes enlightened. So you must see that asking questions brings enlightenment. It brings more light to your life. You are enlightened. Where it used to be dark, suddenly now has light because of the questions you ask. So you are enlightened when you ask questions. You're not foolish for asking questions. You're not stupid for asking questions, but you become enlightened because you ask questions. Light shines in those dark areas because you ask questions. So the E in questions is enlightened. You must never stop asking questions, because that's the source of enlightenment. So asking questions gets you enlightened. Gets you enlightened. It gets you to have lights in areas where you previously didn't have light in. So as you ask questions, you are enlightened. As you ask questions, you get to know. Light shines in those areas that have been dark because you never ask questions. You see, we live in a world where we assume a lot and we are okay being in the dark. That's why they used to say about the African continent. They say if you want to hide anything from a black man, put it in the book because he will never read. Right? Put in the book and because he will never read. But you must begin to not be that analogy, the one who never reads. Because as you read, you become enlightened. Because as you read, guess what? As you're reading, you're questioning your previously held beliefs and you're becoming enlightened with the new information you are getting. So questions enlighten you. It doesn't just make you know what you didn't know, it brings light into the dark areas of your life. So questions get you enlightened. So it's okay to ask questions because it makes you become enlightened. You're no longer living in the dark. You're no longer hiding in the shadows. You are enlightened. You now know more. You now know more. There's now light in your path because you ask questions. You're enlightened. Right? So the E in questions is enlightened. The E in question is enlightened. Now the S in question is serve. Now, with questions, you get to know what serves you and what doesn't. I'll say that again. With questions, you get to know what serves you and what does not serve you. That's why I told us earlier that tradition at its best is peer pressure from dead people. So why still be held down by tradition that no longer serves you? Because you don't ask questions. Are you getting it? Questions, as you ask questions, you begin to know what serves you and what doesn't serve you. And notice that what doesn't serve you becomes a limitation for you. What serves you becomes empowering for you. What doesn't serve you becomes a limitation for you. So as you ask questions, you get to understand what serves you and what doesn't serve you. Is this making sense? Right? So this is what question is about. The S in question is serve. Question helps you know what serves, what doesn't. What serves you, what doesn't serve you. What is limiting to you and what is empowering for you. Questions. Questions. What doesn't serve you become a limitation for you. So true. Right? What doesn't serve you becomes a limitation for you, but you don't know if you don't ask questions. You wouldn't know. And like you already know, ignorance is not an excuse. Why be ignorant when you can ask questions? Why be ignorant when you can ask questions? The T. So let's go over it again, right? The Q is quest, the U is understanding, the E is enlightened, the S is served. The T is timely. Timely. Asking questions must come timely. Asking questions must come timely. Why? Because you do not want to get to the end of your life to realize you should have asked this question long ago. But you don't want to get to the end of the destination to have asked, why am I even on this journey? So questions must be timely. Timely. Ask the questions quickly and early. Don't wait till you make so many mistakes with your life before you ask questions. No. Ask questions timely. Questions must be timely. You know, the disciples did not wait till Jesus had gone before they asked him, we have left everything to follow you. What is our reward? Timely. You see that story in Luke chapter 18. So we've left everything to follow you. What is our reward? Timely question. And Jesus said, in this life, everything you have left, you're going to get 100-fold. And in the life to come, eternal life. Timely. The question was timely. His response was timely. So questions must be timely. Yes, you don't have to make mistakes before you ask questions. The questions must be timely. The questions must be timely. Very important. You don't like how things are going, ask questions. Like I always tell people, you are not a tree. You can always change. But before you can change, you start from the questions that you ask. So ask questions timely. So the T in question is timely. Timely. Even Jesus told Judas, what you have to do, do quickly. Timely. Jesus was going to betray him, yes, but he told him, what you have to do, do quickly. Timely. So ask the questions time. Don't let it delay. Don't let it linger. Don't let it stay for too long. Ask questions timely. I always tell people this, that it is the neglect of timely repair that always makes rebuilding necessary. It's the neglect of timely repair. So ask questions timely. Don't wait too late to ask your questions. Don't wait too late to ask your questions. Ask questions timely because the T in question is timely. And then the I in question is intent. Intent. There's always an intent for the questions that you ask. Always an intent. There's always an intent. You may not agree with this, but there's always an intent for the questions you ask. The intent may be to know more. The intent may be to just to know if you're okay with being around such people. There's always an intent for every question you ask. There's no question without intent. There's always an intent. Probably just want to see where they are, how they think, where they stand. There's always an intent to the questions that you ask. Because question comes with intent. Is this making sense? So you need to understand this, that the I in question is intent. The intent. The intention of it. The why of it. The intent. Very important. Right? And then the O in question is opportunity. Question exposes you to new opportunity you never knew was existed. Question. Right? Nothing brings opportunity before you like question. Nothing brings opportunity before you like question. The opportunity may have always been there, but until you ask question, you do not suddenly realize that opportunity. So the O in question is opportunity. It's opportunity. There's always the opportunity you gain from question. Sometimes I have conversations with people and then I ask questions and it just unraveled the opportunity that's in the conversation. Opportunity is the question. I remember just having a conversation recently with a friend, and we're just talking about the friend's business, and we just from the conversation saw opportunity for more that the person can do in the business. Because why? In every question, there is more opportunity that you discover on the question. Is this making sense? Right? So in every question, there is opportunity. There is opportunity. I remember what they always tell us about opportunity, that opportunity don't come but once, it comes every day. And the day you take advantage of opportunity, that becomes your wants. All right, so you see, when you start asking questions often and frequently, you start seeing more opportunities. And then you can take advantage of those opportunities because in every question is hidden opportunity. And finally, the end in question is necessary. Asking questions is necessary. It's necessary you ask questions. Don't be mute. Don't keep silent. Just ask questions. It's necessary you get to ask questions. Except you want to continue to live in the realm of assumption and jumping into conclusion, it is necessary that you ask questions. Because the worst place you can ever be is to live in assumption or jump into conclusion because of your failure to see how necessary it is for you to ask questions. So it is necessary that you ask questions. Necessary is not an option. It is necessary that you ask questions. Right? It is necessary that you ask questions. It's not an option. It's just necessary that you get to ask questions. So this is what question really is about, right? The Q is quest, the U is understanding, the E is enlightened, the S is self, is intent. Is all about. This is what question is all about. And it's important that you get to ask questions. Don't be silent. Ask questions. Don't jump into conclusions. Don't make assumptions. Just ask questions. Right? Nobody has ever been killed from asking questions. But you can kill yourself because you did not ask questions. It's important that you get to ask questions. Right? So look at your life. Look at the areas of your life where before now you have not asked questions. This is me beaming the lights to you that it's time that you get to ask questions. Whether it's your relationship, whether it's your business, whether it's your family, whether it's your education, whatever it is, just learn the habit to ask questions. Because when you ask questions, then you get to discover all of those things that we have talked about. When you get to ask questions, and remember, there are no stupid questions. There are no wrong questions. They are just questions. They're just questions. Questions reveals your mindset, right? Question shows where you are as a person. By their fruits you shall know them. Also by their questions you shall know them. There's a lot about questions, and that's why it's important that you practice the lifestyle of asking questions. Where you're not clear, ask questions. Where you need understanding, ask questions. Don't assume. Don't jump into conclusion. Just ask questions. So at this point, I'll take a few questions from us so that I'll be sure that we truly understand this conversation on questions. All right. So those of you that are still here, thank you so much for staying to the end. But this is the point where you get to ask questions, right? Let's just be sure that you really have an understanding of the whole conversation on question, right? And like I jokingly always tell people that whenever there's a session like this, two things always happen. People will ask questions or people don't ask questions. Right? When people ask questions, they show that it's certain that they want to know more, right? But when people don't ask questions, it's also certain that they probably do not understand anything. And I know that that's not the case for the people here because you truly understand what we've talked about and you're going to ask questions because you truly want to know more, right? So you're free, any question whatsoever, feel free to ask your questions. And you see, that's why we always start off our conversation on the Upgrade Live with Mr. Upgrade on Sundays by 7 through to 8. And we talked about, we always take your questions. And we start off with 5 basic questions. Why? Because we know the importance and the role that questions play for people to gain understanding on the conversation of the day. All right, so let's take questions from everyone who's watching. And if you get to watch the replay, you can also still drop your question in the comments and we will get to answer you in the comments. But for those of you who are watching live, feel free to ask your question, right? So we can take them. So the question here says, when a particular question will hurt the next person, how do you go about such questions? Very important. When a particular question will hurt the next person, how do you go about such questions? Now, as much as it's important to ask questions, you must also ask questions with tact, right? You must be tactical in asking questions, right? You must be tactical in asking questions. Otherwise, as much as you want to inform the other person and you want some change to happen, if the questions are not presented as they should, it will cause more problem than the solution it was intended for, right? So you must become skillful in asking your questions. Remember, they always say that people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. And in other instances, people don't care what you say or what you do. They care about how you make them feel, right? They don't care about what you say, they don't care about what you do, but they care about how you make them feel. So it's important that you make them feel okay before you ask them the question. Sometimes I recommend that people ask questions in the sandwich manner, which means you commend before you recommend and then you commend again. The sandwich manner, CRC, you commend and then you recommend and then you commend them again. So, for instance, I want to ask you a question. I first commend you for what you're doing and appreciate what you're doing, right? And then I now make my recommendation through the question that I ask, and then I commend you again. So it's easy for you to take it in and not feel hurt, as against when I just come direct at you and then I just ruin everything, right? So you must learn the sandwich method to commend, then recommend before you commend again while you're asking questions so you don't hurt the other person. Then someone says, okay, what do you say about rhetorical questions? Yeah, these are questions that really don't demand an answer, right? Because the question just expects that you should know what it means, right? So it's a rhetorical question that really does not demand an answer or a response, right? So you must also know when to use rhetorical questions. You must also learn when and how to use rhetorical questions. Very important. Thank you so much for that question. More questions, please, before we call this a wrap. We still have a few more minutes and then we'll call this a wrap. More questions. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are amazing. It shows that you truly have an understanding of this conversation on questions. So I want you guys to do us a favor. Please do well to share this with your friends, your loved ones, and even your enemies, right? So that you just help them to become better for themselves, because this is the Upgrade Mastery just for you with Mr. Upgrade, which we do so that you can become a better person and you can kickstart your own upgrade journey, because upgrade is a journey. It's not a destination, it is a journey. And one way to help you on that journey is to learn the art of asking questions. Right? I often tell people this: questions are more important than answers. That's the truth. Questions are more important than answers. So it's important that you learn to have the lifestyle of asking questions. It will save you a whole lot. to save you from assumption, to save you from jumping into conclusion when you get to ask questions. So let's take one or two more questions and we'll call this a wrap for today. I've had a great time. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate every one of you who joined this from around the world. Thank you so very much. You are the real VAP. You are the real value adding personalities. And I'm glad to have you in my corner. You guys are simply the best. You are amazing. Yes, you are amazing. Thank you for always being here. And thank you for always staying true to what we do here. So, one more question and then we'll call it a wrap. Who's going to ask that question? Just one more question. So we'll call it a wrap. And that will be it for this conversation on questions. Like I said, feel free to subscribe, feel free to share, feel free to ask your questions even in the comment section, even after the live is over, so that we can still continue to have the conversations in the comment section, because this is very important for us at this time. Like we said, the ending question is necessary. So it's necessary that you get to ask questions so you can gain more clarity and so you can live away from assumption. Yeah, because assumption is no knowledge, right? So you don't jump into conclusion, just ask questions. It's going to help you a great deal when you do that, right? Last question, last question, last question. If it's not coming, then it's fine. We'll take it in the comment section and we'll call this a wrap for today. It's already over in an hour because this conversation is supposed to be an hour and we're already hit over the 1 hour mark. So this is where we'll call it a wrap for today. Once again, I want to appreciate all of you for joining the Upgrade Mastery Just For You with Mr. Upgrade. It was a great time. I had fun. I don't know about you. I had fun. I had a great time. And I can't wait to see you again on another conversation on Fridays, 7 p.m. through to 8 p.m., where we get to just share, wind, and just have a great time learning. Because we know this, that there's always more on the upgrade side of life. So we encourage you to leave good behind so that you can upgrade. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.